going to cover this morning. Jam-packed this morning. And oh, by the way, if you're on here regularly, what would you like me to talk about next time? Let me know, because I need to think about something for next week, in fact. So we're going to talk about why email is important. Does the headline matter? Who thinks a headline matters? Put it in the comments. Let me know if you think it matters or not. And then we're going to talk about writing content, autoresponders, avoiding the spam folder. We don't want to be in there. Understanding SPF and DKIM. SPF is not a sum factor. We're not going to cover that. And increasing open rates. So this is what we're covering this morning. Oh, you haven't done mindset with me. You're doing it with Jay. Maybe we could do mindset. Mindset is massive. I looked at this years and years ago, and I completely, utterly believe it's the key to everything. And I definitely hold myself back sometimes with my own mindset. So, right then, Edward, that's a challenge, isn't it? Yes, the headline is the most important, Sandra. That is right. You're going to get A stars. I recorded a course the other day for Simon for the business school. And at the end, I was wearing a jumper and it had a star on it. I was like, you get the star because you got to the end of the course. So you would get that star jumper, Sandra, for that. Right. So Jerry says, best ways to obtain a list, trying to cover that. Also how to get around Facebook restrictions. Okay. So best way to obtain a list. Okay, right. You know something, I'll tell you something important about growing email lists and generally things that in this world. I think we get totally obsessed with the fact that we need to have 1 million followers or 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers. And if we haven't got that many people following us, then we're somehow not good enough or it's not big enough. But I would always say that serve the people who you have and who you attract. So if one person signs up to your email list, still write that email because you're in the practice then of writing. And then next week, you might have a few more people. And I built a community and I think we've got 50 odd members now. It keeps growing all the time. But those 50 members are super powerful. And this week, one of the members had an idea about launching a yearbook. So it's going to showcase all the members of the community. And now we're raising funds for it. And we need 20 to make it happen. And we're up to 17 this morning. And there's so much power in small groups of people as well. So if you are building an email list, I would definitely say, don't think, oh, I haven't got 100,000 on there, it's not really worth it. It's like talk to people and really grow those and nurture those relationships. Is it possible to do an interactive Q&A where you bring people out to have a verbal dialogue? That would be, I would not mind doing that. I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we can do it on the software. I mean, you can definitely do it on normal Zoom. Let me find out. We could do that. But you've got to come with questions if I do that. I know, it's funny, isn't it? I have to talk to myself. And Sandra would like to know how to create engagement in a Facebook group. Right. I know all about that. There's so much about community and Facebook groups. So thank you for all your comments. Yeah, it does matter a lot. Mindset, Andrew. I feel like I recognise you, Andrew. I think we've spoken before. So back to the point where I do diverse. Why email? Why is email important? So there was a study done, and it was saying about for every $1 you put into email marketing, you get back 40 times more than you would through Facebook, Instagram, and almost every other marketing channel. Because the thing is about email is you own your lists. And where we're dealing with Facebook and Instagram and like the question about growing the engagement in your Facebook group, you're already up against something if you're using a Facebook group, because the algorithm, so that's if you don't know what that means, it means how your post is shown in front of your audience. So that we don't really know how that works. So it could be because people have engaged with your content or they're liking your stuff. That might be why they do it, or we just don't really know. And you can't control that. And so when you're dealing with a third-party platform like Facebook, it's so hard to increase things in terms of getting everybody to see your content. So in my community, we have a WhatsApp group, and I do know that people will all see that because I share it in the WhatsApp group, because that's how WhatsApp works. There's no algorithm associated with the WhatsApp group. But where you're dealing with social media, it's so difficult to really control what your audience will see. So email is really important because it is something that you can control and will regularly go into somebody's inbox. And yes, we have inboxes which are full of stuff, but equally, if you make your newsletter stand out, people are much more likely to read it if it comes and it's more personal, and they will see it because it'll be in their inbox. So don't forsake email, because it hasn't died, and there are so many ways that you can build a business and build relationships through your using email and communicating with your audience. So email gives trust as well, because you can create trust through email, should I say, because you can use it as a way to nurture your relationships. So rather than putting out, don't use your email list like, hi, I'm just launching this product, would you like to buy it? And then the next time, hello, I've got this new product, would you like to buy it? And I'm part of a few email newsletters. And one came the other day. I'm going to share this tip with you because, you know, I like to share random tips with you. And on this newsletter, and it was selling, her business is called Baxley Bags, and she creates these sustainable bags that are all produced in the UK, and she's got that whole story around the sustainability. And her newsletter, one of the aspects of her newsletter, there was a little bit in it, and it said, if you get soft carrots, you know, when you get them in the fridge and they're all soft and floppy, she said, if you put them into water, then they rehydrate and then they're all perfect again. And I'm now sharing that with you. And that came from a newsletter that she sent out, and she sent it out. And you can tell she's put a lot of love into it, and she might have some links to some things that she finds she wants to share. But it really stood out to me, that whole thing. And I look forward to her newsletter because it's interesting seeing what she's up to and the new design she's doing and where she's getting her products from, who she's working with, all of those kind of things. So, but like I say, it needs to be mutually like give take. So if you've got one of those friends who's really draining, then you don't want to answer the phone to them, you don't want to see them very much. But where it's like you go and then sometimes you chat and sometimes they chat, and then you have a conversation, and it doesn't feel draining, it feels like it's mutually beneficial. And that's what you want to be doing in your inbox. Yes, exactly, Edward. It's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. Motion of the ocean, email size list. I like that. Motion of the ocean. That's cool. Is that a problem? I like that. Edward, I like it. Motion of the ocean. Good morning, Alwyn. Motion of the ocean. I could save this chat box. Jerry says, is there a software that puts people's names on your emails automatically? Yes. When you're writing your emails, you can have a little, it says first name, it's sort of in some coding, which you don't need to understand, but you put it in, and then it'll automatically add in the name of the person you're sending it to. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Not that specifically, but how you can send out multiple. So it's not like you have to go into your Gmail and say, you don't have to do that. So, does the headline matter? Well, we've already had a gold star for this, and yes, it definitely does matter. Because if someone doesn't even open the email, you've lost. It's pointless. So you really need to have a really great email, because email headline, because if you don't, no one will even answer it, open it. And it's interesting, I send out emails every week for my community, and I check and see how many people open it. And for ages, it was 30% people open rate. And lately, I've noticed it's got up to 60% of people opening it. And I'm like, wow, this is good. So my emails, I kind of, when I research stuff for things like this, I then try and put it in place myself. So obviously I'm trying to think of different hooks. And a good thing you could do is actually you could go to your own email list, and you can then look through your email inbox and see which emails you opened, because it's like, oh, that's interesting. So always like being curious, always be curious, like, why did I open that email? What was it promising to me on the other side of it? So you need to create that hook. So it's just got to spark curiosity. So is there a promise? So have you promised, like, this is not going to hang around for very long? What isn't? So then it's like, oh, what isn't? And then you open up the email. So is there a promise? Is there a question that needs answering? Is there urgency? That kind of thing. So what pulls people in? And the email headline needs prioritizing. So you should probably spend, and this might sound ridiculous, probably 80% of your time doing the headline and 20% on the content, because literally, if no one's going to open up the headline, then no one, because of the headline, it's a waste of time, whatever you put in it. So don't let it be the last thing you think about. And something you can do is you can carry a notebook, or actually a good exercise is to write down 30 headlines. So say you want to market this purse. Okay, what could we do? Write 30 headlines around this purse. And then you want to connect with people, because not necessarily today, but normally you can hardly open this because I stick all my receipts in there and I don't clear them out. And I'm sure lots of people are like that. And some people, I saw someone actually, she said, have you got your loyalty card? And then she was hyperventilating because I had so many receipts in my purse. And other people are on the other side of the spectrum. And they're like, it's all super neat and there won't be a receipt in there and it'd be all perfect. And it's like, how do you talk to people? So it resonates. And that's why when you get comedians and they see things in life and then they make a joke about it, it's why it's really, really funny. Because I saw a meme the other day and it was about the iPhone box. And he said something like, you will never, ever need your iPhone box again. But we do, we keep it, don't we? I've got loads of iPhone boxes. I haven't even got the iPhones. I think I sent those back, but the iPhone boxes, why do we keep them? So you need to connect. Like, that is what it's all about, connecting. Can I share the slides? I don't know. Maybe I can. I don't know what they do with this stuff. I think it all goes on YouTube. I think it does. So, but yeah, I'm happy for you to have my slides if you wish to have them, Mike. Haley says, if people look at emails through a reading pane rather than opening, does that then show to you as non-opened? I don't know the answer, Haley. Does anybody know the answer to that? Showing it through the reading pane? There wouldn't be too much in there, would there, though? You'd only see a short amount of it. So it's probably as good as not opened, isn't it? I would say. But I suspect that's been factored in with the open rates, if you can see more. I can't quite think about which reading pane you mean, whether you just mean the short bit at the top, that, you know, you get the first few lines. I would think that would not be opened. I often think that, though, actually, with WhatsApp. So if you see the message on the front of your screen and you look at that, whether that's the whole thing or not, and whether that looks like it's been opened if you have the WhatsApp ticks or whatever. I don't have those turned on mine because I don't know, I turned them off ages ago. I don't care if someone's read my message or not, because it's only important when they get back to you, so it doesn't really matter to me whether they've seen it. Oh, you tested it in your office with your team. Sandra's tested this. Oh yeah, okay, Haley, yeah. So it depends on the size of your reading pane. I can read it quite a bit in yours. Yeah, there is that. I wonder. Oh, it shows it as opened, Sandra says. There you go. Sandra knows. There you go. Thank you, Sandra. So she tested it with her team. So there's the answer. Yes, it's very confusing. It is confusing. But people who love you and want to read your emails will open them and converse with you. And don't worry about the rest of the people, because sometimes we spend too long thinking about all the other bits and pieces. Just like monitor what's going on, and I'll show you how you can do that. See who opens them. And the software is really clever, actually, because it can show you all kinds of things, like when the last time people were opened, or obviously it shows unsubscribes, all of those kind of things. So anyway, so good headlines evoke an emotional response. So they create a curiosity gap and a need to know, so they click. So you've got to do that. Like, why would someone click? So or the other good thing is, and this is not necessarily about sending out marketing emails, but when you email, so if I email Simon about something and I put in the heading Zoom login details, he will immediately know what that's about, or if he needs to come back to it later. So if I'm talking about some online course, if I put that in the heading, if I just put hello, then you'll just have loads of hellos in your email box, and it's really hard to find them later on. So be careful with headings anyway. Put what you want in the title so people can see. And in terms of marketing emails, you need to appeal to the reader's self-interest. Like, what's in it for them? Why would they tick? Why would they open it? What's going to take, where they're going to go if they open that? Why is it worth opening that one as opposed to any other? And then give the headline some urgency as well. So have a limited time frame as well. So this offer ends soon is really, really good, because if you think there's some kind of time frame, then you're much more likely to take action, as opposed to if you think, oh, I've got all the time in the world, so you won't do it. So hello, Jamie. Jamie is here. I might have to turn your screen off there because you're putting me off. I'll see you in a bit. So, okay. That's very rude and turn Jamie's screen. I'm not trying to be rude, Jamie, but literally I'm going to change my laptop, because I've got a tiny laptop and I've got a huge, I need to get a huge screen so I can see everything. It's so small in here. So, okay, Alwyn. Oh, right, okay. Alwyn is trying out some headlines. I was like, what's this one? Wanted. 7 homes that need a new driveway by Christmas. Yeah, that's quite intriguing. Yeah, put your headlines in the comments. Let's have a look. Yes, put your headlines in the comments. I was like, what is Alwyn talking about? But yeah, that's a headline. Wanted. 7 homes that need a new driveway by Christmas. It could be a bit more intriguing. Yeah. I don't know what you're sorry for. Don't be sorry. I think it's good. It's a good thing. Put your headlines in. Let's see who can get the best headline. Let's go for that. Okay. So here we are. Here's some examples. Let's see some good headlines in the chat. So we've got, don't open this email. Da-da! That's always the best, isn't it? Don't open this email. And you're like, okay, I'm going to open it. Although sometimes I'm a bit like, oh dear, they told me not to do it. Best not do it. I don't know if that would work. Is your dog your only friend? Oh, I quite like that. Would it? Is your dog your only friend? Maybe. That's quite well done, Jerry. What are you marketing though? FOMO. You are missing out on points. Wow. So that would be something like, if you were, I don't know, if it came from the supermarket and you can collect nectar points and those kind of things, you're missing out on points. How am I missing out on points? So you're missing out on something. Funny. New. Vacation on Mars. Why is that funny? I don't even know why that was funny when I wrote it. It's not that funny, is it? I think it's more funny me talking about it than that. I don't know. Vanity. So this is products the celebs are wearing. So, like, oh, I want to look like a celebrity. So it's vanity, or this will make you look slimmer, or this will make you look more beautiful. All of those kind of things are going to get you to open it. Greed. I don't really like the word greed, but you get the idea. A little luxury at a great price. So I think it's just sort of trying to make the most of life, really. Like, oh, a bit of luxury at a great price. And sloth. Steal these email marketing tips. So obviously there is that inbuilt thing to take the easy route. And so if you can speak to people in that mind, in that way, then steal these email marketing tips. It's like, okay, this is going to be a quick way to get to a result that I want to get to. So there's a few good headline ideas. We didn't have any more in the comments. We just had Jerry's and Alwyn's. But if you want to pop something in the comments, we can have a talk about those. So writing content. 9 out of 10 marketers use email for content distribution. That was a fabulous fact that I found, which I think at the time when I was researching this, I honestly thought that not so many people were using email. And I read a really good book as well, which I was looking to see if it's on my desk. It's by David Hyatt, which is who's a really, he has written some great books. There's one about newsletters, and I've written that. I haven't written that in the thing. I've written it to the host. Jamie knows about David Hyatt now. I want to write it to all of you. But he's written a really good book about newsletters and their power. And And a lot of this is, it comes up from consistency. So showing up regularly every week. Like I was saying with my newsletter, it goes out every single week at exactly the same time. So people get to expect it. And then that builds the trust. So have a look around when you're thinking about content and find influencers and other people's content that you think is engaging. Because if you are paying attention to it, then success leaves clues. So when you're trying to think about what to write and look at other content, and then try different types of content as well, because some content is more long form. So what I mean by that is it's a long, there's a lot of writing. Always split up and use a lot of white space as well, because then we can scan, because people will just scan things. But some content is short form as well, which is maybe a few sentences. So you can try alternating between the two. Personalize your emails. So we had a question about this earlier. You can do this with the software, and it means that all the emails will go out and it will say, dear Claire, dear Jerry, all of those things. So it will say to the name of the actual person. So when you remember that when someone reads an email, they are reading it personally. So if you don't speak as if you're speaking to everybody at once, because when someone reads your email, it is about a personal connection between you and them, and you want them to feel like you are actually talking to them and not to a whole bunch of people. Because if you were in a room with them, then you would talk one-to-one. So don't use too many links or images as well, because sometimes that can end up in spam folder, that kind of thing. And also it's just too much of a distraction. Don't use too much at once. Just keep it simple. I think that's something I've learned over the years. Like, you don't need to give too much. Like, keep it simple, because people are bombarded all the time with information, and so don't make it really complicated for people to consume what you want to share with them. Consistency is key. Like I said, like, regularly do it, even if it's a few lines every, once a week. Make sure you're just consistent with it and commit to it, because that really builds up the trust. People really like lists and how-to. So if you kind of think of content, you could list. That's why you see lists like the top 7 influencers, or the top best places to go camping, or all those kind of things, or how to wipe your computer, how to make your computer run faster, or whatever it might be. Those kind of how-tos are engaging and interesting to people who are going to look at the content. That is a link to I think it's an AI. I forget what the link is to now, but it was to I looked at this software a few years ago, and it uses artificial intelligence to create content, and it was really, really interesting. The content, it can create headlines for you and all of those kind of things. And I had to play around with it, and it is quite interesting actually. If you're looking to create headlines and content, you can create blogs on there, and it's all done by artificial intelligence. So have a look at that. I think there's a free, you can try it for a week free or something like that. So always interesting. So the question earlier about can you put the names in? If you use something called an autoresponder, that's the way that you can send out emails based on pre-programmed events. So that means that you can create an email in advance, or for example, if you sold a product on your website, as soon as someone purchased, an email can automatically go out to say thank you for purchasing, these are your next steps, or all those kind of things. So you can also use them to nurture your customers. So if you have an opt-in on your website, then when someone signs into your opt-in, then you can send out an immediate email saying thank you for opting in, and then set up a program, a pre-programmed calendar of emails that will go out. So maybe on the 3rd day you'll say something, the 5th day, the 7th day, and it means that you don't have to be always thinking, oh, someone's opted in, send out something. So there's obviously more time involved when you're setting it up the first time, but when you've set it up, then it will obviously work for everybody who opts into your lists. It's also a way that you can nurture people and then upsell them onto other products as well, or you could ask for reviews as well. And if you are using something like Trustpilot, or asking for reviews from other things of products you're selling, that will automatically go out and ask your people to give reviews if you're selling products as well. Nico said, why do affiliate marketers keep making this mistake? I don't know. I didn't quite see you when you shared that. Did you mean, I mean, affiliate marketers, do you mean like just asking for the sale all the time? Because that is something that you do see quite often. Because I think that when you're doing something online, I think it kind of creates that barrier. Because if you walked into a room and the first time you met someone, you said, hi, would you like to buy my diary? It's here. Would you like to buy this? Or would you like me to coach you? You just would not do it, would you? But I think sometimes if you're using email or going out on social media, you think, oh, it's okay, I'll just ask, do you want to buy my stuff? Like, people don't want to until they know you. So you need to, oh yeah, it was a headline. Yeah, so I've shared something else as well about building relationships. But that headline, that was a good one. That is a really good one, actually. Why do affiliate marketers keep making this mistake? I was like, what mistake? But yeah, it worked. It was a good one. Well done, you're on for a star as well. So here's some different autoresponders that you can sign up to. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, Edward. I think that interactive thing would be good, wouldn't it? Because I could hear then people laughing or turning off, one of the two. So getresponse.com is a way to do email marketing. You can create landing pages, and you can create funnels to convert people into customers and sell your products and all those kind of things. So GetResponse is one option. So these are different options you can look at if you want to incorporate email marketing into your business. MailChimp is another one. I used this in the early days. I haven't used this for many years, but there's a free plan. I think it's probably for the first 2,000 subscribers at the moment. And you can also create forms on there, so opt-ins and landing pages, and you can also build a website on there. So it's important to look at the things that you're looking to do. So if you've already got software which runs your website, you might be able to incorporate. So if you use, for example, Kajabi, I use Kajabi, and it has already built into it an autoresponder, and I can also already create forms and landing pages, and now they've launched it so you can host your podcast from there. So basically it's an all-in-one singing or dancing platform. But if you're just getting started, you might want to use something like MailChimp. So this is Kajabi, as I was just saying about. So Kajabi, in the early days, I did lots of trial and error. I did use WordPress for a while, and then Kajabi came along and I signed up for it. And I really have grown to love Kajabi because everything is on Kajabi, like I said. So I have online courses on there, my membership sites on there, coaching programs, and templates. So my website's on there as well. You can create something called pipelines. So if you wanted to, for example, sell an online course, you can create a pipeline which will create all the email sequences and the product and the online course as a product, the follow-up. You can connect it to your payment processor, so PayPal or Stripe, something like that, and it will create the whole thing, and then you just need to fill in the gaps. So that's what I really like about Kajabi. It also has amazing customer support. It has a Facebook group as well. And so I prefer to use it because everything's in one place. And normally you can get a 14-day free trial, but if you use that link, and it's case sensitive, bit.ly, you can get 30 days Kajabi. You can get a 30-day trial if you wanted to try it. But it's not the cheapest option. I've been with them since the beginning, so I'm locked into a founder's rate, but it is definitely what I do use to handle my emails. Now, if you are writing great content and great headlines and you're building relationships and consistency with your audience, you want to avoid going into the spam folder, because if you are in there, obviously you can you're not being seen, so your content's not being seen, and you also can get your reputation damaged. So you want to ensure that you've been given permission to email people on your list, and that's why we have things called double opt-ins. So if you sign up on your website, you will then get an email and say, please confirm you want to opt into this list, and that's called a double opt-in. Don't do things like buy lists, because you can buy lists, but that's a dangerous way to proceed, because we don't know if all of those people on those lists are current, or if there's permission for you to use them. And it's really a cold list if you're doing that as well. So as opposed to where you build up warm relationships, and that's how you get to know people. So you need to be giving value over time. So you can see through from the Saturday schools, some of you will, I see you every single time I come on. And so we are building relationships. So if you were part of my email list and I said send something out to you, that would be you'd be a warm contact, because you already have got to know me through these Saturday schools. So so that's why it's really important to build relationships. And I've talked about this lots of times on Saturday school about how important it is to build relationships. So you can use this website, and it's called sendascore.org, and it's like creditworthiness but for email. So you can go on there and check if you're on a blocked senders list, and have a look around on there. So if this is something that's important to you, you can go ahead to Sendascore. And there's something called a spam trap. So this is if you fall into them, you can be blacklisted. And if it's from a major ISP, then they could blacklist your domain. So you need to do things like check that your list is still current, remove emails that regularly bounce, all of those kind of things. And if you're using an autoresponder, you can find all this information out by clicking into the settings on your autoresponder, and all of these show up for me in Kajabi. And things like doing the double opt-in as well, because sometimes people might sign up and use a false email address, and obviously things like that will cause issues with your email provider. So there's something called SPF and DKIM, and I'm just going to share it briefly because it can help improve your email deliverability. So you want to ensure that you've set up an authorized email authentication on your account. So the best ways to do this, well, the first thing is really, if this is something that you think you need to do and you're getting issues with spam, then just Google this, because depending on which provider you're using, there'll be different things. But SPF basically stands for Sender Policy Framework, and it helps servers verify that the messages are coming from the domain that they say they're coming from, and that it's authorized by the domain owner. Because rather than it being spammy or not owned by the person who owns the domain, is to check that that's all in place and it's all above board, because they don't want people I wouldn't want someone from my website sending out information that I hadn't authorized, and that's the thing behind it. And then DKIM stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail, and that's basically a digital signature on every message. So this lets receiving servers verify that messages aren't forged and weren't changed during transit. So like I say, Google email authentic. I can't say it. I'm just going to stop. Can't say it. Authentication. There you go. Authentication. Your email host. This is not my favorite slide. I don't like this slide, and it's like dull as well. Let's not talk about it. But basically, if you're getting issues, these are the kinds of things you need to be looking into. You probably set up okay. You don't need to worry too much. It's kind of deep, this, but just so you know, it's always good. Like, the first step to any change, whether it's mindset change or sorting something out in your business, is awareness. So if you're aware these things exist, then you can move yourself forward. So that is that one. Moving swiftly on. So if there are any questions, let me know in the comments. We've got Jamie and Mark coming up soon, which is good. to practice my words. I've got big words on here, it's hard. So average open rates for all industries were, MailChimp found out that it was around 21%, so 21.33. So like I was saying with my email list, I kind of, when it went from 30, it was usually about 33, 34%, and then it went to 60. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I was checking the headlines all the time and seeing which headlines worked and which were better and which were worse and which people opened. So it is really important that you monitor the things you're doing and what's working and what isn't working. So if you're getting a low open rate, then it's generally one of these three things. So maybe you've got a poor or irrelevant or uninteresting subject line. And like we said earlier, this is really, really important. So do think about your subject line and what you're trying to say in that subject line and how you can capture the attention early on. The other thing that's quite big is if you are sending it and it's untargeted. So that's like I was saying, even if you bought a list and people aren't actually interested, or maybe you have a large following or a large list, but maybe there's different sectors. Maybe you might have things that might appeal to certain sectors on your list at different times of the year, or maybe say if you had a product and it's around Mother's Day or something like that, you wouldn't want to be necessarily emailing the mothers because they won't be buying their own gifts. So you might want to think about who might want to be, if you sent it out to males on your list, for example, males would be more likely than females, possibly, to be buying Mother's Day gifts. However, I have my own mother, so maybe that wouldn't quite work. But you need to think about what it is you're trying to do and whether you can segment it to reach the right people, depending on what product it is or what service you're doing. So another example would be, I have an email list and I have members of my community, and then I have people who are in my wider list who aren't necessarily members of my community. So generally I'm nurturing the whole list, and every week everybody on my list will receive my emails. But for example, this week we are launching the yearbook and we are looking for 20 people to get it started, and we're up to 16 or 17 now. But when I sent an email out about it yesterday, I just sent it to members only. So it didn't go to the wider list, and it was targeted. And then that resulted in sales yesterday. So, and this morning, because it was super targeted just to members and it wasn't to the whole list. The other thing is low open rates can be a sign where there's no consistency, because if you don't know if someone's going to show up, you're not really waiting for them to show up, and then you're not expecting it. So email, I'm part of an email newsletter, and it comes out on Sundays, and it comes out at 11 o'clock. And every Sunday, 11 o'clock, that will ping into my inbox. There's another email newsletter I'm on for a clothing brand, and I notice that it always comes through around 7 a.m. and it pops up and it's always at 7. And I have purchased off that one because it's, oh, there's the email again. And it just jars me. And like, who emails at 7? Not as many people email at 7, but it's that consistency that gets the sales. So here's some ways that you can increase your open rates. So split test your headlines. So that means that you can send out 2 different headlines using the same content, and then see which one works better than the other. So you go into the statistics and see how many opened. So if you had a list of 100, you could send 50 one headline, 50 the other, and then see which email got the higher open rate. And then try it again. So it's always trial and error. There's never going to be an exact answer. You just need to keep trialing it. Begin a consistent communication schedule. So as I was saying, I send out my email every Wednesday at 6:30. And so people expect it at 6:30 on a Wednesday. And some weeks I don't want to do it, and I usually schedule it in advance, but I always make sure that it's gone and it's there for 6:30 on a Wednesday, because that obviously, like I say, people are expecting it and then they open it. It might feel like you don't want to reduce your email list if you've got one, but definitely delete contents who never open your emails. Check after 6 months or something like that, because it is best to get rid of people who aren't really vibing with whatever you're doing at the moment. So I know it feels like, oh, I don't want to. Maybe one day they'll open it, but it's like the time you save your iPhone box. One day I need my iPhone box. You never need it, do you? You never need it. So keep emails short and to the point. So I've done this lately, made emails really short, or done a really just small quote and some kind of profound quote, because actually people have got time to read that, and it's like it really lands. Whereas if you've got so much information, to consume. It's just something else to look at and you think, I'll come back to that later, then you don't come back to it. It's always interesting if you sign up to your competitors' emails and then you can have a point of reference. Don't copy what other people are doing, because you want to keep true to who you are and do what you're doing and be authentic. But it is interesting to see what other people are doing, and it can keep you on your toes as well, because you think, right, well, if they're doing that, then maybe I could try something else or do a different approach. There's a service called emaildrips.com, and it gives you access to sales copy that's worked for other people. So if you're really interested in diving into this, you can have a look at other sales copy and see if that will work for your business. So that's something else you can do. And like I was explaining, use segmentation to target your emails. I don't think my Mother's Day list was a great example, but I think you got the gist of it. So think about what it is you're trying to, who do you want to speak to? Are they members? Are they not members? Are they people you need to nurture? And maybe that's why sometimes you see things like, you'll see an email, it's like, do you still want to stick around? Or is this the end for us? Or something like that. And you're like, what do you mean is this the end for us? And then you might feel like FOMO, oh, I'm going to miss out if I don't resubscribe. So then people say, marketers say, would you still like to be part of this? And then you've got that kind of re-engagement of the relationship again, and then people might start opening up your emails again. And encourage replies to emails, like get back to me if this resonates with you, or that kind of thing. And then you can start having conversations or ask people to take an action, because if you don't ask, people don't do it. And there's an interesting, there is some psychology, I read some psychology actually around the word because, and I think they were saying that people standing in a queue in a supermarket, and if you said, can I go in front of you because, it didn't really matter what you said afterwards. You could say, because I can't be bothered to wait, but because or you could say, because my child's in the car. But if you use the word because, there's some psychology around it, makes people take action because of the word because. So I read that somewhere. I think it was in a psychology book, Robert Cialdini, something, the power of something of influence. I'm trying to look around if it's here, I can't remember. But I think we've got psychology coming up there, haven't we? Definitely, I think we have. So I think Mark might be able to talk about that better than me, but we get the idea. So a transition word, unproven to work. It's called a transition word. I didn't know that. Thank you, Edward. So that is it on email. Remember to measure it, because that which you measure improves. So be looking at stuff, be interested, think about what headlines tend to work for you, what doesn't, what resonates, what gets reply, what doesn't. And it's like when you lean into it, it's a bit around, I don't know if I shared this story with you last time I was on Saturday School. I don't think so. No, I didn't. I shared it on the online course I was doing. And that was, I wanted to go on this course, and it was in Wales. And at the time I was in Lincolnshire, and I knew it was going to take me 5 hours to get to the course and 5 hours back. And then when I got back to Lincolnshire, I had to go down to Devon. So that would be another 3 or 4 hours. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much driving. So I created a Spotify list, and I interspersed it with podcasts I wanted to listen to, which some were an hour, some were 15 minutes. And then music I hadn't listened to for ages. And I created this podcast and list, not podcast, playlist on Spotify. And it was called Driving to Wales. And literally the whole psychology of the trip, at one stage I was going to share a lift, and I didn't in the end, but I was almost disappointed. I was like, what about my list? So I actually drove to Wales, and it was great because a podcast came on for an hour. Oh gosh, I'm a fifth of the way there. And then I got some music, and then you can have a bit of a sing along, and then I got some other podcasts. So it was just about changing the psychology around things. So where you are interested in why things work and why things don't work, then it's just like it's an experiment. Like, be curious, always be curious. That's like something I'd really like to share. So if you've got any questions, let me know. We are thank you for your questions and chatting to me. I'll see about the interactive aspect for next week. And we've got Jamie and Mark coming up shortly.